Welcome to the third part of the three-part series about holistic health. In this part, I'm going to be talking about physical health. I will say things most likely that you already know, but since there's so much information, we may have a tendency to keep forgetting the really important things about life and about our bodies and health and so on. So I hope that with this video, I can remind you of some things that are really important for your health. The first thing I want to mention is that I'm of the opinion that the human body is perfect and that whatever it does and doesn't do is part of a perfect plan. When you call something a disease, what is your body actually doing? It means that your body is fighting something within its, let's say, boundaries that's not supposed to be there, right? So it's a useful function for your survival and your health. And I don't know, from my point of view, your body never acts against you, so it's always there for you. And if you adapt this point of view, this also may be very healthy for you. It may be more the mental health aspect, but since, this is for me, this is the most basic and important point about physical health that I want to convey, that your body always works for you, as the rest of the universe, in my opinion. Yeah, and also, before the categories start, I want to remind you that this is your body. And there is no one else that knows your body as you do. So although certain things may be true for most or all human beings, it could be that you have certain things that are very special just for you and just within your body. Or that the explanations for certain things or the reasons why things keep happening to you, they may be very unique for you. So learn that your best compass and the best advice comes from within yourself. Because what is a doctor going to tell you? Yeah, he knows maybe certain things of generally how a body runs, but if you look closely, they will not really know. And they won't especially know about your body and your situation, because you cannot separate your body from your lifestyle and your thoughts and emotions and so on. So be reminded that you are the master and you have the best source of information about your body, and everything that happens in your life you can solve and you can overcome, and no one else can. The first category I want to open up here is diet. Of course, how can you say anything about physical health when not talking about diet, right? The first point, check your habits. Because, having a little bit of too much sugar every now and then may not be too unhealthy for your body. Your body may be able to compensate for it. But if you drink 2 liters of cola every day, well, your body may get to its limits. And if that's a habit, so something that you really do like every day or several times a week, or if you smoke or whatever, maybe not considered diet, but if you do these things regularly, then it has a big effect on your life and on your health. If you just have a small misstep every now and then, that's okay, and your body can compensate. But in general, just have a look at your habits, like what kind of stuff are you eating, how much, and so on. Which brings me to the next point, check the amount that you're eating. And here again, you may have heard a million things about how much to eat, when to eat, etc., etc. But if you are able to, and let me tell you, not everybody can, and I guess most people have to relearn it. Listen to your body. If you can listen to your body, then you have a huge advantage, because it will already tell you how much to eat and when not to eat even. You can easily see this when animals or children, when they are sick, they will usually not eat anything, because it will just put more pressure on the system for digestion, and the energy needed for digestion cannot go into regenerative processes. So yeah, check the amount, and also there, listen to your body, listen to what your body tells you. And of course, only take good quality food. This should be a no-brainer. And I think it has a lot to do with self-value, self-esteem. So many people eat and drink, let's just call it crap, right? And I get the impression that it has a lot to do with what is their image about themselves, and how big is their self-esteem, or how valuable do they see themselves. If they think they're a pile of shit, then they will basically also destroy their body, because yeah, if you are, then you have to manifest that image that you have of yourself. Thus, you will consume things that destroy your body and make you look like a piece of shit and make you feel like a piece of shit. So I think this is a temple, and I think this is a beautiful instrument, and or like a game controller, you know, like my avatar or something. And I don't see any reason to spoil it or to destroy it with bad food. So yeah, I don't know. You may have your reasons, but I encourage you to only take good quality food. Yeah, then of course eat fruit, vegetables, good oils, and every now and then something raw. Let's not forget that you don't have to cook your food. There is also food that you can eat in its raw form. Although it may not be suitable for everyone, depending on the body type, which we get to later. But remember that it's a healthy thing to have raw food as well. Don't completely omit it from your diet, from your dietary plan. Fruit, vegetables, that should be absolutely clear. And good oils, that usually means no trans fats, or there are certain oils who break down when you heat them up. I go with coconut oil, because you can also cook with it and it has a really nice taste. Go with a natural cold pressed virgin oil. Not something that is, processed. That's always something to avoid if you can. And moreover, I like peanut butter a lot. And here also again, you can get products who are just 100% peanut butter. And sesame oil, virgin sesame oil is also very nice, which I personally recommend. And they are like sesame oil, for example, is also warming food, so it has a warming quality. And here again, depending on your body type, this may be an oil which is helpful for you. And yeah, of course, omit all the crap, omit all the bad things that you could put into your body. Like, processed food in general, you never really know how they treat what you then eat. There could be so many chemical steps that have been taken before, especially, for example, if you have a look at these vegan alternative meat products. Well, yes, I agree, they pretty much taste like the original thing. But if you have a look at the ingredient list, and if I think, how did they produce this? Like rehydrolyzed pea protein or something like this. Like, it just doesn't even sound healthy. And personally, I would also avoid this kind of food. Even if you think, it's vegan, that doesn't mean that it's of good quality, right? Keep that in mind. And what do I also mean by crap? There's also these things like fluoride. Many people use it, they consume it in their salt, for example. They will buy salt for the kitchen and then think that there has to be fluoride in it. I just want to remind you that fluoride is a poison. And for decades, it has, for example, been used in rat poison. And it didn't change its chemical components, It's not something that's supposed to be in your body in any amount that is even worth mentioning. And also omit it. I mean, it's maybe not diet, but also omit fluoride from your toothpaste. That's also where they usually put it. If you don't know about it, then read up on fluoride and the pineal gland. That's really something to keep in mind. And if you don't want to run around like a programmed robot, that's something to look at. And get this stuff out of your system if you can. And also something very small, like people may not have understood what it actually is. Carbonic acid. Like, so many drinks have that in them, and yet it's completely unnatural in these amounts, right? And if you think about it, what does it do? It is a gas, yeah, and it bloats up your stomach. And why would you consume that, right? Again, depending on the quantities, etc., etc. But keep in mind that this is something you can potentially omit. Like, I maybe in the summer, maybe 5, 6, 7 times during the summer I will have a drink with carbonic acid in it, but it's completely unnecessary, really. And if your body is already a bit cool, just as a side note, this will also cool down your body even more. Then, of course, cut drugs, coffee, and cigarettes. That should also be very obvious. Many people, something I want to say about coffee. Many people don't realize what it does when they drink coffee at the same time when they should be processing the food that they ate. So it seems to be normal for many people to have a normal meal and just after the meal have a cup of coffee. But what does it do? When you drink coffee, it basically tells your body you have to fight or you have to work. Like, it's like telling your body now you either have to run from a tiger or you have to be like super focused, and it also activates like adrenal production. So if that happens at the next process step, it tells your body, well, okay, so if adrenaline is produced, that means I have to fight or run or I don't know what, but there is no time to digest the food. So when you eat something and then directly afterwards have a coffee, your body will not be able to assimilate all the nutrients that are in the food. And I think that's not really smart. It can potentially smoothen your stool if that's what you want. Maybe you have noticed this. But in general, I recommend that 2 hours before and after having let's say a normal meal, to avoid anything that has caffeine in it. This is also green tea, etc. And also, of course, don't have coffee after like 5, 6 p.m. because you may not be able to sleep very well. And then cigarettes, of course. Again, maybe not diet, but like drugs in general. Usually it's somehow a poison to your system. And there's also the point of addiction. But in general, I think if you can omit something, if you can say, I don't need that, I'm independent from this substance, then that's a good sign. And with cigarettes and drugs and coffee, especially with coffee, because it has become such a mainstream drug by now, and it's like glorified. And of course, since you're a working slave, the masters want you to work more efficiently. And yes, it helps you with doing that. But you can also ask yourself, do you really want that? Then there's the issue of drinking high quality water. Depending on where you live, at least in Germany, they don't put fluoride in the water, in the drinking water, which, like, if I hear this, that they do this in several countries, I think it's an absolute horrible crime against humanity. And the people responsible for this, they should be hanged, if you ask me, really, because they know what they're doing. And it's definitely not about your health. And the argument with the health of your teeth being increased by this, you can just throw it away. If you want that, you can choose to. But if they put it in the drinking water, basically it means you don't have a choice anymore. And as I said before, it's a poison, and try to avoid that. And also there's a lot of other factors you can look up on the internet, but the main point is your body consists to a big part of water. We all know this, and the water quality has a big impact. And also you can taste, like you can taste, sometimes the water just doesn't taste good. Even from my tap that I have here, sometimes it's just like, no, I'm not drinking this water right now. So I will pour it away and then maybe wait half an hour or just have a little bit of more liquid running, because I just taste that the water is not good at the moment. So I will not drink it. Like really taste your water and sense whether it's of good quality for you. And again, of course, omit the carbonic acid and try to have still water. Yeah, I mentioned before the body type, and more especially the Ayurvedic body type. There's this concept of the 3 doshas or 3 doshas. It's an old Ayurvedic model of, let's say, body types. For example, there is the Vata body type, which, I mean, it represents usually tall people and thin people and people that have a lot of mental activity. And these people have a tendency to get rather cold. And let's stick with these kind of people. I'm one of those. If they then consume more products that even cool down the body even more, that will bring them even more out of balance. And that's something to avoid, because you always want to be in balance with your system, right? Or the other type, Pitta, they will have a tendency to be a little bit more heated up, a little bit more, let's say, aggressive. And if they consume products that generally add a lot of fire to their system, like chili and so on, or hot products, then they can also get out of balance. So, I mean, there's definitely not enough time in this video to go into that topic, and you can find a lot of information on the internet. Like at first, I thought this model isn't really good, and I kind of, I kept ignoring it. Then I made my own experiences with my body, and 2 years later or something came back to that system, revising it again and saying, oh wow, like everything about my body type actually makes sense. Everything that I now experienced about food that I like and food that I don't like, and really in terms of it's good for my body, it fits into this Vata category. Makes perfect sense for me now. I don't want to say it's the only truth, the only model, but I really recommend having a look at it at least. You can learn a lot from it, even if you don't believe that all of this is true. But there's a lot of factors that, let's say, dimensions or aspects that you can learn from the system. Don't eat too late and or too often. There's also in the traditional Chinese medicine, there is this, I don't know what it's called in English again, like the clock of the organs. And it describes at what time of the day your organs have their energy high and their energy lows. And in terms of food, it's a really bad timing to eat very late. So I think something between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. is the worst time to eat, because then your digestive tract will have the least amount of energy for digestion. So try and eat, let's say, before 8 p.m. And don't eat too often. I mean, just, again, listen to your body. Of course, this is just like a general advice, but imagine if you eat, let's say, 10 times a day, like snacks, and you have 3 main meals and then you have snacks in between. Just in terms of your teeth, your body always has to combat all the bacteria forming the acids and so on. Like every time you put something into your mouth, and especially if it's food that's sticky, like bread type of stuff or chips, tacos, whatever, this will also stick to your teeth. And I mean, you can brush your teeth, but I highly doubt that you do after having a snack. So what you can do is reduce the amount, like how often you eat. What you can also try out is just eating once a day. Later there's the category of fasting, but now just as a small idea, you can You can just eat once a day and then see how your body feels with that. Or start with intermittent fasting. But we get to that topic a bit later. And then don't drink while eating. At least that's my experience, depending on the type of food. Let's say if it's not super dry food, like if it's not dry oatmeal or I don't know, like you know, it has this rough texture where you really feel like I have to drink something now because it's so dry. But let's say you consume something like vegetables or fruit, then there should be enough water in there. If you drink water, if you add, let's say, half a liter of water after eating, then what you do is you thin out your stomach acid, and then it needs like more energy to dissolve the ingredients in your stomach. So I personally noticed that usually when I eat, I don't drink, and also maybe 20-30 minutes afterwards, I don't do either. You can check again, you can check on your system how it behaves, but that's what's true for me. And I think it makes sense that you don't want to thin out your stomach acids while you eat. The next category is enjoying nature. And what is most important for life in nature? If you ask me, that would be Mother Earth and the sun. And the first point here is be reminded how life-giving the sun is and that no life could exist without the sun. And some people have this crazy idea that they have to protect themselves from the sun, and then they put on stuff on their skin that actually causes things they want themselves to be protected from. Of course, don't exaggerate in terms of sunbathing and so on, and use your common sense. But I just want to remind you here that we're talking about one of the few like elemental things in life and on this planet that gives life. And do you think that you or your body is an exception to this? Because I don't think so. I think that also science will show you that we need sunlight, right? Just think of vitamin D3 and all this kind of stuff. So many things that are being produced in our body when we soak up the sun. So don't protect yourself all the time. I would rather encourage you to give a lot of sun to your body if you can, if your climate allows for it. And there's also the thing called sun gazing. In case you don't know that, it means that the first and the last hour of each day when the sun is shining, you can look directly into the sun. And no, you will not get blind from it. So the first hour of sunlight and the last one, it's possible. You don't have to do it for 1 hour straight. Some people can, and some people even look into the sun longer than that. I think it may be a bit exaggerated, but just try it out with a few minutes to begin with, and then see how well you can take it. And yeah, maybe you notice some differences. Just saying it's a thing, like to look directly into the sun. The next point would be to get fresh air a lot and to ventilate properly. Like most of us sit inside rooms most of the time, most of the day, and if you don't ventilate the room properly, you will always be in this atmosphere of, let's just put it simply, of CO2, right? So in general, there will be a small to medium lack of fresh air, and of course is something very essential that your body needs. So yeah, be reminded to ventilate properly. Maybe every, let's say if it's cold outside, maybe every 2 hours open your windows and exchange the air for like 5 minutes or something, and then close it. In terms of energy efficiency, that makes more sense to do it that way instead of leaving it on for open for a very long time when it's actually cold outside and you're heating your room. So do this quick exchange of fresh air. And then the next point would be to take walks in nature. That could be parks, but it could also mean hiking. So I don't know, man. In my last trip, I met people who, they were older than 25, and maybe it was even the same with me, but they never went hiking in their life. And now I feel like, I mean, what a loss. Like, this is something that should be kind of like an elementary experience of human beings, to go on a hike somewhere, to have extended walks. And as I said, I don't want to exclude myself from that, but hearing that someone who's almost 30 years old has never done that in his life before, it's kind of sad, to be honest. And if you think about it, maybe it's the same in your life. Isn't that sad that you haven't experienced nature in such an essential, elementary way? But the point here is that it's beneficial for your health, like the movement of your body, and then also you have the fresh air, and most likely you will get some sun rays. So it's just a good activity to do for your body and for your health. And if you do it more regularly, I guess you can see a lot of health benefits coming from that. Yeah, connect to Mother Earth. What do I mean by this? Most of the time we're wearing shoes, and they insulate us from the earth. So speaking in, let's say, scientific terms, if you connect your feet to the earth, there is an actual electrical and magnetical, I guess, also exchange, right? So ions will be exchanged through your soles. And since we don't really walk barefoot anymore, it's something that we lack. So maybe some people experience a lack of grounding, which, like, if you just say that, like, I'm not grounded, you know, some people say I'm not grounded. Yeah, how about you ground yourself? Just think of yourself or of your body as like an electrical conduit. Then yes, it needs to be grounded every now and then. So the image that I have for this is that the negative things in your body, they will be sent into the earth, and it takes care of that. You don't have to take care of this anymore. And at the same time, you're drawing energy from the earth, because it's called Mother Earth for a reason. Like everything that you have in your body is essentially composed of Mother Earth, right? I mean, since you are not your body, but you have a body, just want to point your attention towards that. Every cell in your body is made from Mother Earth, right? So it may be a good idea to be actually connected to this life-giving source. And as a last point of this category, I want to invite you to be calm when you are enjoying nature. So the idea is that you go into nature to connect with it, right? So it's not the idea you go into nature and then you study for your exams, or that you recap work things in your head. Of course you can do that, and it's still kind of beneficial, but the invitation here is to be in nature, connect with it, and be still. And kind of shut down your brain, shut down your thoughts. And especially if you connect via the breath. I mean, I recently discovered that this method works really, really, really well for me if I want to get out of my head. I connect to my breath. And you can also then connect the breath to things in the outside world, like trees or whatever. Or you can, in terms of, I mean, for the other point of connecting with Mother Earth, but also in terms of getting more calm in nature, you can touch trees with your hands and try to feel their energy. It may be a bit difficult at first, but try it, you know, on different days and on different trees especially, because you will not feel every time something, even on the same tree. Like I don't know the factors exactly, but yeah, just invitation, try it out, and maybe you can feel the energy of the tree. I can tell you it's possible, and it's really an interesting experience, I would say. And these trees can also give you calmness. Like by doing this, you can also, not only will they give something to you in terms of energy, but you can also feel that it's helpful and it's beneficial for you. Yeah, I guess if you approach trees and plants and whatever, the universe and Mother Earth with the right intention or gratitude, like with the right attitude, then you will get this connection. Like if you talk to someone in a friendly way, he or she may be more open than if you talk to him in an aggressive way, for example, right? Or in a way that is non-grateful. Yeah. The next category is fasting. We talked about diet before, but fasting is something that a lot of people don't do really. And the first part here is about the why you should do fasting, and the second part is then how to do it. I don't want to go like extensively into it because there's so many videos out there, and but this is just like a small reminder here and maybe an overview on this whole topic. I've been fasting for many years, like 24 hours per week. And I also increased that sometimes to 2 days, 3 days, and even up to 7 days and 7 hours. So yeah, I do have quite a bit of experience and think it's an important thing to consider in your habits, like in terms of your eating habits, right? So the first question, why should you do it? If you search for scientific papers about this, or if you just get like a general idea on the internet, like what's the image of fasting, it is always a very good one. Like normally you would always hear some kind of skeptic saying, but what about this, what about that? But in terms of fasting, like I only hear of positive results. So it's very beneficial for your health, and that means your physical health and also your mental health at the same time, because it's connected, as you may know, or as you may have heard in my other videos. And something that is also very useful for, I find personally, is that it shows you the difference between the actual need of your body, like when your body wants food because it needs food, and emotional eating. Because many people, they eat not because they're hungry, but for other reasons. And usually these are reasons that are similar to why addicts use the products that they use. It may not be as bad because your body was still kind of made to process food. But like my long-term thinking is that I want to take the food that my body needs and not really more. And I don't want emotional eating. And in the very last step, I want to be completely free from food. Like I want to say, I'm not dependent on food. If I want, I can eat. And if I don't want, I can also skip food for a month. Like that's the final stage that I want to reach in terms of fasting. But of course, you will start small. You will start with maybe 16 hours a day. And then you can go for 24 hours and maybe then for 2 days. Just don't be an idiot with it. Use your common sense and start small. Yeah, and as I also said, it also frees you from the outside in the sense that you become more independent. So I think this is an interesting field where, like me in general, I want to be independent from other things and people and circumstances. So I want to be in charge of my inner state of being. But let's say I become a diva because I don't get my food and I get angry or hangry or whatever, then I'm dependent on something else. Like a drug addict is also dependent on his next fix. And in this field of fasting, if you really think about fasting for like a week, for example, or maybe a month, I like the idea that, oh yeah, wow, I'm actually independent from that, or very independent, maybe not 100% depending on your level, but the idea that, oh wow, I don't have to eat, so even in the worst crisis, I'm still kind of safe in terms of food, like my body can survive without. I think having this experience, understanding, knowledge, wisdom, whatever, it's very valuable. Not to say this is going to happen, but yeah, it gives you also the calmness, the relaxation that, you know what, even in a crisis, I need an apple in 2 weeks and I'm fine, you know. That would be very nice. So I like this aspect. And yeah, and also again, like connected to the other point, it helps you with self-reflection, because you get to understand why you eat and also how much you eat. And maybe you'll even learn to cherish and value a bit more that the food that you eat every day, and think about like what was necessary for that food now being served for you. How many people and what plants and so on had to be there in order for you to have this meal. So yeah, you get a bit like a slightly different focus on food. Maybe, yeah, as I said, you value it a bit. You value it a bit more. Yeah, and also fasting balances your body and mind. As I hinted at, it's connected. And of course, why you do it? You do it because you want health and you want a clear mind, and maybe you want to do an experiment. So yeah, it gives you all the goodies that you want. And I think this balance is quite a nice effect that you get by fasting. Of course, it also strengthens your willpower and your discipline. That's also a very nice field to train on this aspect of yourself, or this quality that you have. Because yeah, some people even struggle with not eating for one day, when I think that is like, I've done it for so many years now, like it's not a challenge at all, right? So, and I think even when I started, it's more about your, let's say, power of determination that you have. It's not so much that it's difficult, really. It's not difficult for your head, and it's also not difficult for your body, let's say for 24 hours. But it's more about, are you determined to do it? Because my experience is, if you really know why you are fasting, and also that is connected with how long you're fasting, if you really know that, it gives you the strength and the, let's say, power of determination. And that has a big effect, right? So your willpower may also be dependent on this factor. If you know the reason you're acting, it gives you more strength for it. And yeah, it's an interesting thing to discover about your system. These, let's say, qualities can be trained and can be looked at by fasting. And as a last point, why fasting? What I noticed is that the last time I was fasting for 5 days, and then I had something to eat. The next day, I had a very much increased subtle perception. So I was standing on the balcony and there were no substances involved. And I could see the subtle energies. And the last time I saw them that intense, that is many years ago, when I took like let's say a triple dose of LSD, which triple I consider 240 micrograms. So that's already quite something. And back then I could see the energies in the same intensity. And now I was just fasting and getting the same like perception. So I found that quite interesting, because like, as I said in one of my other videos, very often it's helpful to omit things instead of adding more to them. And just this quality of, okay, well, I omit food. I omit something where I thought I would need it. And it actually gives me advantages. Like it adds something to my qualities, or to my, I consider it a quality to have subtle perception by omitting things. I think that's really interesting. And so yeah, I was seeing these subtle energies, and I don't really interpret them well, I guess. So I'm not really sure what it means, what I saw there, but I can tell you I saw these subtle energies. I was also seeing ghosts. Like, for the first time, really, I saw ghosts in the hallway. So yeah, maybe some people find that scary or spooky, but I mean, to a certain degree, I also found it slightly spooky, but more than that, I found it interesting. And I became very curious and was really excited, like a small child, that now I have this perception without the use of any substance. So yeah, that's a factor also on why you should do fasting. And then for the how, of course, here it's very important to feel your way, right? So listen to your body and don't just blindly follow some kind of program, but yeah, know that the true wisdom about your body comes from within, and it doesn't come from people who tell you when to eat, how much to eat. Like you should really find your own the connection to your own body, and it will tell you, right? But I can assure you, you will survive if you don't eat for 2 days. You will survive that. Except you're already down to maybe just 30 kilograms. If you're anorexic, then be very careful with this. But if you don't have any problems with your weight in general, yeah, your body will tell you what's going on. And yeah, so have a proper introduction and outro phase in this. So you may start with, like when you fast, and then when you start again, you start with something light, like soups or maybe vegetables. And you usually wouldn't go for something that is very fatty or with lots of protein, because it's harder to digest. You would rather go for things that are easy to digest for your system. And at least for my system, it's fine. Like I can also have more difficult things to digest because my system is already trained for these kind of things. So it works for me, but as I said, listen to your own body. Yeah, and then you can also differentiate between fasting with water and without. I noticed that when I fast, I definitely need way less water than when I'm eating normally. And yeah, there's a million methods to fast, a million ways. Find your own way, but I do recommend you start with water and to not omit it the first few times. And then, you know, little by little, you just test and you experiment with your own body and see what's the best method for you. And then also, like as the final stage of what you can reach with fasting is inedia, where people actually don't need any more food. I mean, these people exist. There's, in case you're a skeptic, there's a documentary, it's called, in German it's Am Anfang war das Licht. Maybe in the beginning there was light. It's about especially an Indian saint who hasn't eaten for many decades and also doesn't drink. And they have like locked him up, so to say, in a hospital and checking him through and see if he's cheating or something, and he's not. So yeah, these people do exist. Yeah, then also I would recommend you to do the fasting regularly. Do it, for example, like I did, like do it once a week for 1 day and then go with that, start with that. And I'm pretty sure this will already have good effects on your system. But yeah, make a habit out of it. Don't just do it once a year for a day. That's not really enough. But yeah, maybe once a week or even once a month if you want to start that way, if you're very scared or whatever. And yeah, I want to mention that detox symptoms, especially starting on day 3, will be very normal. There is something called ketosis, where you have this smell of acetone coming from your nose, and it can be really disgusting. But it's not dangerous. That's something that's very normal. It just means that your cells are cleaning up the dirt, so to say, right? So these detox symptoms may be normal, and I also encourage you not to go too heavy into sports or something, because the detox will take some energy from your system, and if you then add an additional strain by doing excessive sports, even Qigong can be too much. I had that sometimes. Even that can be too much. So plan it accordingly so that you can fast and also rest at the same time, that you don't have too big physical activities. Yeah, and the last point here is that actually your intellect and your fear will be the greatest enemies. It will not be so much about that your body can't take it, but it's your head telling you that, oh, what about? What happens if, you know? Now my stomach is growling and I don't know, maybe I should eat something. So it's mostly fear that kind of can cancel your fasting. But if you gather the experience that, oh, I'm fine not eating for 3 days. Oh, I'm fine not even for 5 days. If you gather this experience, you will see that it's possible. And it's something that you can train, actually. And go to whatever level you want to go with this. Okay, so the next category is sports and movement. Of course, movement of your body is really important and also necessary for your body, because the lymphatic system is built in such a way that it doesn't really move automatically, but you have to move your body to make that fluid move through your body. Did that sound weird? Maybe, I don't know. So do sports, yes, but also do things during the week. I mean, if you're not going to the gym or whatever, also incorporate some kind of movement during each day. And that can be a stretching. You don't have to run for 3 hours or, do something excessive, but include something into your daily routine, maybe. That mustn't be too strenuous, just so that every day you have a little bit of movement. And I think like 30 minutes daily should be something to aim for, at least at the lower threshold. Could also be something like going on a bike, or as I said, like stretching, and whatever you feel like. For some people, maybe swimming, but try to have at least like 30 minutes of some kind of movement of your body each day. And also take care that it's not too intense, because some people do have the tendency to overdo it, and having this idea that I must strive so very hard, and then they go against their body limits, really. And this can lead to what do you call it, a lashback or something, where you cause damage to your body instead of what you try to do, because you were just trying way too hard. So depending also on the body type that I mentioned, the Ayurvedic body type, you could also try and see if you need some kind of sport or activity that is really like raising the fire within you, or do you need something which relaxes you a bit more, right? So do the right kind of movements, the right kind of sports, like Qigong, for example, or Tai Chi, but something like smoother movements, and that's kind of helpful if you're already stressed out anyway, or if you have like a nervous system that is easy to trigger, or let's say if your body is really cold, like my body really is, some kind of sports that has a lot of activity, that it makes you sweat a lot, could be beneficial. Or if you want to get rid of your fat, then of course you need something to burn, in that sense, the fat, and have some kind of activity that is really, let's say, with a fire quality to it. And the last point from this category, get some massages for your body, but also give yourself massages. It's a really big thing that there's really a difference between what you can, let's say, feel like when you give yourself a massage. You can feel and put pressure on spots where normally professional massagista, I don't know, masseur, where these people don't go, because they will usually run their program, and it would be like, okay, this is the absolute cookie cutter standard for everybody, and they would often just do that. And that's why I like to get massages from people who are not professionals, because I don't want to say they don't know what they're doing, but some of them can be more intuitive, and I actually prefer that, because that's also how I give massages. I'm intuitive, and I try to feel where is it necessary now to give a massage. And if you do that to your own body, you get like a better feeling. You know where it needs this pressure. And then you can also tell the guy who gives you the massage, but sometimes they will just continue with their program as if you didn't say anything. So do both, because also sometimes I notice when people give you a massage, then it's just a different type of how intensely it works. Like, I know of a spot here that I have, and I can put a lot of pressure there and nothing happens. But if someone else presses that point, it's like, oh yeah, that's the point, that's the pain, which I cannot reach if I touch myself there. If I apply pressure myself, it doesn't work. So have both modes. The last category is miscellaneous. Balance heat and cold. There are many aspects like this in your body. This is one example where, we're living in duality, of course, right? And heat and cold is something, say, very essential, very elemental, that you can just feel like, does your body feel too hot or too cold? And let's say your body is too warm. Then it wouldn't be a good idea to eat chili all day and sweat your ass off and go to sauna and blah, blah, blah. But rather something that brings you more into the cold side. And also, like, for example, rage would be associated with that. And if your body is very cold, then it would be quite a bad idea to eat ice cream in the winter and salads and so on, and drink ice cold drinks, because that would just bring you more out of balance. So have a look on this aspect of how warm your body actually is, and know and be aware that you have to balance this out, because otherwise there will be a disease, right? And then you get the consequences. A similar thing is with the pH value. The question that I personally had after doing measurements for 2 or 3 weeks is that, okay, now I measured the pH at different times of my urine. And if you don't know, in case you don't know, what it does is it measures the relationship between acids and alkaline elements in your body. And of course, your body shouldn't be too acidic, otherwise that is the source of many diseases, right? So you usually measure your pH value by peeing on a small strip or spitting on it or whatever. And I thought, okay, now I get these results, these numbers that I have there, and oh yeah, it's quite low numbers actually. But I was asking myself, but what does this say about the pH of my body cells? Because yeah, that's the pH of the urine, which is what my body excreted. But then what does it say about my body really? So I'm just not so sure about this method of testing this out. But as a general idea, similar to the first one, where it's about heat and cold, have a look at this aspect of acidity versus alkalinity. Next one, high quality sleep, super important. There's also scientific research about how much better you perform when you have enough sleep. And I think, if I remember correctly, what they figured out is that 8 hours is really some kind of a, let's say, minimum for optimal sleep. And with optimal, it is about, they measured how well the brain functions and how well your also your physical activities go. And they found that there's quite a big difference whether you sleep 6 hours a day or 8 hours a day. I personally notice I sleep a lot. I don't really know why, but I would just have my body do whatever it needs. If it needs that much sleep, that's fine. And I also encourage you a bit into that direction of not putting the alarm clock, especially if you, let's say you don't have to go to work anyway. Yeah, don't get into the habit of anyway waking up by the alarm clock if you don't have to. But yeah, listen to what your body actually wants. And if it needs more sleep, you should have more sleep. Also, if you're getting tired, it's not usually a good idea to drink coffee to combat that, but you should rather then just listen to your body and go to sleep or have a rest, Detox your body. Detoxing is something really important that not many people do. And also I think they don't do it regularly. There's different methods on how to do it. For example, there's the chlorella algae that binds heavy metals inside of your body, and then there's different types of healing earth, for example, that binds it in your gut and then helps to release. Let me tell you that it can be a bit stressful during that time, because your body's kind of releasing these toxins from cells or from wherever it is stored. And then there will be this short duration where it's in your blood and your gut and everything, and it can be a bit unpleasant, but I think in the long run it's definitely worth getting this crap out of your system. And as a special note on detox, I would also like to mention the enema, which I definitely recommend several times a year. I've seen it several times that it's so effective in getting the feces out. Like, I was fasting, and at the end of the fasting, or day 3 and or 5, whatever, I used an enema with like 1 to 1.5 liters of water. Just kept it inside for really just a few minutes, and so much feces came out, and that is stuff that usually your body just is unable to get rid of otherwise for some reason. And there's this saying that goes something along the lines of the health lies in your gut, and I think it's a very important aspect to clean also your gut, right? So as I said, healing earth like bentonite and zeolite or something is something to consider, and enemas and all sorts of food that you can take with lots of fiber content is also really good for that. Stuff like psyllium husks are also really good for this. And just remember to take good care of your gut. Breathe consciously. It's something that even recently I had this big revelation somehow. There was like a tensing of muscles in my gut area. It was there for quite a few time, like quite some time already, and I got rid of it by consciously breathing into that part. And it was really interesting. Of course, you can breathe into your lower lungs, which is anyway what you should do, as opposed to your upper lungs. But it was really by conscious breath into that area. Within just like a few minutes, I could get rid of this tensing of the muscles. And also I noticed that there is this strong connection between when you go into the thinking mode and holding your breath, right? So I noticed that I have this tendency to stop my breath when I'm thinking. So to combat that, what I do is focus more on conscious breathing, so that I do not go like by default or autopilot or whatever into this automatic thinking patterns. So for me, especially recently, not so much the years before, but very recently, it's became very effective as a means of getting out of the head. Plus, I think it's very healthy to breathe consciously, because you have a tendency to breathe more deeply. I also made a video about pranayama, which is the yogic term for conscious breathing. You can also check that out if you like. Then, next topic is about sexuality. Check your relationship towards sexuality. Do you think you have a healthy sexuality? And several aspects go into that. First of all, maybe, do you think you're attracted by the right gender even? Like if you're a man and you're attracted to a woman, I guess that's the normal thing to have. If you're attracted to a man, there is this theory, I don't want to say whether I agree or not, but there's this theory of that it's actually some kind of a certain poisoning of your body that leads to homosexuality. So as I said, I don't want to judge it. I don't say it's good or bad. Really, I don't care. Everybody should do what he or she wants. But just as an idea, because then maybe there may be also the feeling that, let's say you're a man and attracted to a man, and you may have the idea, no, it doesn't really feel right. Just as an idea, right? You could think about that maybe detoxing could help. I don't know. But we're on the topic of sexuality here. So do you have enough sex in your life, or even do you masturbate often enough? Is it something that you never do because you were told that it's dirty or something? Or is it something that you do like 10 times a day, which then also would be quite unhealthy? When was the last time you had a boyfriend or girlfriend, or the last time you had sex with someone, or the last time you were cuddling with someone? Is that something you lack in your life? Ask yourself these questions, because I think it's a big area that, like in the Western society, I think bodily contact is not that common, and I notice how nice it is, and just a small gesture can go a long way for some big effect. Yeah, then check your body posture, especially if you're sitting in front of the computer quite some time, or if you're one of those people who are on their mobile phone all day. What you do on your mobile phone, it should be clear that you lower your head most of the time, because most of the time you're not looking like this at your phone. So I noticed that it took me many years to become conscious of this, that when I was sitting in front of the computer, usually I have a tendency that my neck would do something like this, because there's so tiny, you know, all this tiny information on the screen, and you want to get closer and closer to really see what's going on there. But it has a really bad effect for your neck, and that then in turn has a bad effect on like the rest of your body. So maybe make yourself a small note, that's what I did, and put it directly at your keyboard. So every time you look at it, you can be reminded, oh, sit consciously and be aware of your posture, right? Yeah, it's something, yeah, sure, it's a habit, and you have to invest a bit of time to do this and to correct make the new program kind of running. And of course, the second aspect would be that you do movements of your body to counter whatever bad posture you had before, right? So if you're doing this all the time, what you should do is do like this, right? So do the opposite pose of what you trained your body to do. Also, if you're sitting a lot, like stretch your legs and see if the sinews at the knee and everything, whether that's stretched out far enough, can you reach your toes if you bend forward, this kind of stuff. Because I guess you're aware that sitting for more than, I don't know, like 4 hours a day is something that's not natural. Yes, our bodies can adapt, but still this can lead to a lot of diseases, a lot of negative consequences. And I think, for example, tinnitus may be one of them, because it seems to have a lot to do in many cases with tension in your shoulder, neck area, and this area here. So my theory is that very often it comes from just sitting in a bad position. And the last point of this category is, of course, take care of your body hygiene. And my personal advice is to omit all the lotions that you can. And if you cannot, then really have a look at the ingredients, because most of the stuff that you can buy at supermarkets is absolute trash. It's just purely chemical crap. And don't forget that your skin is your biggest, like in terms of volume, it's your biggest organ. And it doesn't just go one way. So like sweat, when your body releases sweat, it goes outside. But it also has the direction where stuff can get inside. And I personally don't like rubbing all these chemical toxins and whatever into my skin. So, I mean, what I'm using is like a natural product. There's like basically only oils and some natural flavors in it. And I also recommend that you check out your lotions and everything, and perfumes and deodorants that you use. And really think about, what are you even doing there? I mean, why would you, for example, apply perfume? That's also a question you can ask yourself, like, why are you doing it? Because in a sense, it's fake. It's faking something that is not really there. And also many people don't get it right with the amounts. So yeah, usually just, if you use perfume, just press twice. That's enough. Okay. Yeah, that's it for this video. It's a lot of topics, I know, and I thank you very much for watching this far. I'm fully aware that there may be many things I'm missing from this list, so definitely I encourage you to write a comment about what may be missing, because I can already sense there will be a follow-up of this trilogy because it became very long and I think I need a slightly shorter version. So yeah, for the next version or whatever, I'm really looking forward for your comment and add things that I forgot or whatever you want to comment. You can, of course, write anything you want. And yeah, leave a like if you want and maybe share it with friends that you think could benefit from this. I think it's a kind of a video you should watch like once every year or something to just be reminded of these things, right? Because it's super difficult to think of all of these all the time. And yeah, if you did enjoy the whole trilogy or whatever, I can also invite you to subscribe to the channel. And as a last kind of advertisement, I also offer healing coaching sessions. So you can check out my website in the description. And maybe you're interested in a healing session with me. I can also do remote healing via Reiki. So it's possible even if you're not living in Germany. Yeah, thanks again for watching this video. I hope you liked it and I wish you all the best for your physical, mental and overall health. See you in the next video.